Hey everyone, it's Lindsay here. Today I want to show you how I like to finish my cross stitches with mounting them on like a board. A lot of people I've noticed use what's called sticky board, and you can most definitely use that. I don't know if I just didn't know how to use it right, but I did not like using it. So I actually found that this is illustration board. It comes in huge like poster board size. I get it at Joann's so like where the illustration, like the poster boards and things like that are. And it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $6 for a big sheet. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you want to decide like how close you want your cross stitch mounted to the board. And I figured, so on the picture and the way I finished it when we did it for our girls weekend, we used 2 boards. So I've already pre-cut them here, except this one has like a little chip. So I'm going to show you how I like to cut my illustration board. There's 2 sizes, and I measured these, and the small one is 3.5 by 9 inches. And the large one is 4 1/4 by 10 inches. So you can see how they kind of stack nicely. I don't know if you can see. If you want more of the fabric showing, you can make this board bigger. In fact, I think there's one more board size that I'm missing. Yes, it's this one. Okay, so this one, the piece that you're gonna stick your actual cross stitch on, I'm measuring it at 2.5 by 8. So I'm going to write that down. I forgot there was one more. 2.5 by 8 inches. Okay, so there's 3 boards. So you have your cross stitch on the first board. We're going to do an accent fabric on the second, and then a third accent fabric, or a second accent fabric. So I'm first going to teach you how I like to cut my illustration board. By far the easiest way is to use a matte rotary cutter. So we keep one of our rotary cutters specifically for cutting things other than fabric. And so I'm going to cut my large one, which is 4 1/4 by 10. So I'm just going to line it up here. Let's see, I need to move it a little so you guys can see. I'm actually going to trim this side. It looks a little crooked. So, and then you just grab a ruler. This is just a regular like quilting ruler that I like to use. And depending on how dull your blade is, this one is like brand new. So I don't have to press very hard, but if it's dull, you're going to have to press a little bit harder. So now I need to count 10 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's my 10-inch mark. This will ensure you get a perfectly square, rectangle, whatever you're cutting. So now I want to cut my width, which is 4 1/4. And for that, I'm actually going to use the ruler for my lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. And I'm just going to make sure on this line right here that I'm at the 1/4 inch mark. And then also, if you make sure your line down here is straight, then you're going to get a really straight piece. Before I take my thing off, I always make sure it cut all the way through, and I didn't on that one. Make sure you always put your blade so it's not out, especially when it's new, because those things are really sharp. Okay, so I have my piece here. I have this little scrap. I could definitely square this up and use for a different project. So let me just show you. We have a little bin here. We put all of our scraps in. And I want to mention too, this piece like this, it's a little bit thinner, but these are from the backs of like layer cakes or charm packs. So we just save little cardboard pieces. You want your glue gun hot and plugged in. And so the first step, I'm going to put this one away because this one was cut weird. And so I have my 3 pieces, and for this piece, I wanted it to be pretty close to my actual stitching. And you can see that it's pretty close. So when I trim this down, I don't, you want to be careful. You can always trim away more, but you can't put it back. So with that in mind, I'm going to grab my other rotary cutter. This one I use for fabric. And I'm going to cut, I'm going to start, I don't remember what I told the girls when to finish theirs. But let's start with, I'm going to use this orange piece as like the orange stitches as my guideline. And I'm going to line up my ruler at the 1.5. So 1 and then half. Because I want to make sure I have enough to fold over my cardboard. And honestly, this is probably going to be way more than enough, but let's see what it looks like first. And I just changed this blade too, so it's nice and sharp. Okay, so now I'm going to use the very top of my stitches. Same thing. I'm going to line it up with my half. That's basically the edge. And honestly, I already know I want to trim this down a little bit more. But like I said, it's better to be safe. You don't want to get too close and then be like, crap, I don't have enough fabric. And then again, trim the other side. Sorry, there's a huge glare where my light is. Okay. I've noticed quilting tools come in super handy when finishing cross stitching. So if you're a quilter, you'll have all these tools on hand, which is a bonus. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this, and if I'm not gonna turn it over yet, I'm just gonna look. And to me, that's like a lot of bulk. So I am gonna trim it down some more. So I'm gonna just quickly do that. I'm gonna do 1 inch. Honestly, I should have written down when I was helping all the girls finish theirs on our girls' weekend. I should have written down what I told them to do, because I finished the original one, which was my mom's. She let me do hers first, and then I helped everyone finish theirs. And so I didn't get a chance to do mine on girls' weekend. So, okay. So I'm thinking that's pretty good. Okay, so you can see I have a nice amount all the way around. It's even. The technical way of finishing cross stitching and attaching it to like a board like this is to use thread, like thicker thread, and a needle, and like weave it in and out, but ain't nobody got time for that. Just kidding. I watched Priscilla's tutorial. I think she did it for Fat Quarter Shop, and I kind of learned and kind of made adjustments to how I like to do it. Like I said, they use sticky board. I don't. Okay, so before you go all gung-ho and start gluing, we want to make sure it's centered. And to do that, you can get tape, which I'm going to grab my tape really quick. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to grab my tape. And I'm just going to like crease this. And I'm going to probably move the tape, but we're just going to look at this and see kind of what we look like on the other side. And this just kind of helps us see. So as you can see, I have a little bit more room on this side, so I need to move it over. All right, so I have my piece that I'm going to do my actual cross stitch. This is take 2 because I already glued it down and it was not centered, and so you guys can learn from my mistake and try and be better about centering it. Okay, so technically, since I measured both sides to make sure I'm an inch, I should just eyeball it and make sure you're pretty even. I was not, and I paid for it. I'm gonna scoot this over just a hair. Up and a hair over. Okay, so when gluing, have your hot glue gun ready. I do not like using a high temp glue gun because I tend to burn myself. Okay, if this isn't center, I'm just saying, oh well, and nobody will notice, right? I just put a tiny bit because, as you can see, I've had to pull it up once. Press it down. You want to get it, like if you want a really nice corner, you have to get that sucker pretty tight. Now I'm gonna, okay, so you do your corners first. And like I said, just push on that. If you use a high temp glue gun, you're not gonna wanna just push on it like this because you're gonna glue or you're gonna burn yourself. Mine is not high temp. I do not like using high temp because of that reason. So I'm gonna do my other two corners. First of all, before I glue this one down, I'm just gonna take a peek. Okay, that's better. Before I was way over on this side. So I undid it. And you can see my little marks there. Sorry if I'm like way too close in here. I'm just gonna put my other two dots of glue. And once you do this a few times, like you'll kind of find ways that work for you that, you know, this may not be your favorite way of doing it. Okay, so I've got it glued. Now I'm kind of like, it's like a present almost. You're just gonna fold that in. I kind of mentally look to see where it ended and do a little line of glue. And then I'm going to try and get my corners nice and tight. Okay, sorry, I had to get up. My dog was barking. Okay, so I've done both sides, and now you're going to take a peek. Much better than last time. I'm just gonna put that out there. Now I'm gonna glue this part. So you'll wanna be quicker if you don't wanna do the whole length, just start on the corner so you can get your I'm just gonna turn this over. See how I've got a pretty nice corner on there? I mean, it's, now I'm gonna go over to this corner and try and do the same thing. I might need a little bit more because it's gonna stick right there. You can use more glue on this point as long as you feel like you've got it centered nicely. That looks really good. So now I'm just gonna go in and, oh, see, it's coming up. I didn't do quite enough glue. And I probably didn't hold it long enough. If you do use a high temp, because I was using high temp at one point, it's better as far as staying down. I don't know why, but I don't feel like burning myself to death. Oh, I just totally moved that. So I'm turning it around, making sure I don't do too much stretching. See, I did a little bit too much glue, but that's okay. We were using like the tip of a pen. I'm gonna actually grab my seam ripper because it's sitting right here. And just gonna take that off and put it over here. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now the other corners. Oh man, I just burnt myself. I really want to get those like corners nice and squared if I can. Sorry. Zoe barks at every little noise, so I apologize. Zozo. No, no. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure I pull this a little tighter because I've got a little space. Try not to use as much hot glue as the other side. Sorry. Got little. I forgot to mention, I did press my piece. I didn't press it on the top. I turned it over and I used a cloth to press it. So this is a little crooked, but I don't think it's too noticeable. Add a little bit more glue. Pull it tight. Try not to burn your fingers off. I know some people will use like that crafter's glue. I've seen that. But then you have to wait for it to dry, and hot glue is like instant. Okay. So I have my cross stitch piece. I'm gonna zoom back out. Oh, sorry. So here's my piece, and basically what we're gonna do, same thing. You're gonna do with all three or the rest of your pieces, but you're gonna choose fabric. So I thought I would kind of share with you, cut your piece of fabric 1 inch, half an inch to an inch bigger than your piece on all sides. And it's a good idea. I just brought a couple of fabrics over here to share, like to test out. So like that, I don't think there's enough contrast, so I probably wouldn't use that. And this is kind of what I did when this is what I do when I finish my cross stitch pieces. So I would iron this, but here's the orange. And I honestly think this is what we used in the, so there's orange. I'm thinking the orange for the big piece, and I think that's what I did on my mom's, which I bet this was supposed to be my piece of fabric that I found. So I'm gonna press that. So just kind of like audition the fabrics you want to use. So like I'm gonna press that and then look, and then I think we ended up using this black print. So I'm gonna just kind of fold it over, put it on my orange, and then layer this, and I'm gonna decide, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't like that. Let's see what it would look like. I know this piece might not be big enough, but I have more of it. If we did the spider web instead of the orange. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I might go for the spider web. And who's to say you could add another board? Here's another option I pulled. So this piece of fabric, super fun for Halloween. And if you're a sewer, it's even more fun because these little tick marks, it's like a measuring tape. So if you're going to use something stripy, you have to be careful to make it be straight. It's one downside. So if I did a stripy, so far I like the spider web the most. If I put this directly on, I think it's too busy. Or if I didn't want the orange star, I pulled this one out. This is more of a tone on tone, so it's not as busy. So I'm gonna just kind of wrap this around so we can get the best effect. Try to, at least on camera. It's kind of hard. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need a visual. So if we did the black and then this, that would be, this is showing really neon in the camera, but it's actually more, it almost matches exactly to this thread. I kind of like this, but let's look at it with the spider web on the bottom. This is where it gets fun because you can play with your fabrics, and we all love cute fabrics. So if we did the black star with the black spider web, would it be too much black and not any orange? Sorry, it's hard to see because it's hard to do this. Usually I'm, oh my heck, you guys. Okay, I'm just gonna do that and then that. So I actually really like that too. And then what I could do for contrast and some color is do orange ribbon to tie everything in. Or I did get some purple ribbons. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm having a hard time deciding. All right. First of all, I think I need to go grab a piece that is a little wider because, well, I could probably make this work. It will be super tight, and I don't know if I want to like try and finagle it that much. So I think I'm gonna go get a bigger piece of this spider web and give this a press, and then I will be back to finish it. All right, guys, so I just covered my spider web, and this print is very straight lines, so I had to do it twice. But this is what the back looks like, and we will cover the actual back of the piece, which this will be it, and I will show you how at the end. But I'm gonna set this one aside and show you how I glue my fabric on. It's the same steps as your cross stitch. I'm just giving this a press. I didn't. Oh, felt like I had glue on there. Okay. Guys, I'm a really messy maker. See, I got glue on my fabric. It's okay, it's not gonna show. Now, I think I decided I wanted to do the black with the gray stars rather than, I don't know. I think I might be changing my mind. What should I do? Okay, I'm gonna use the orange. I think I like the pop of color. See how much I changed my mind. It drives my mom and sister nuts. Okay, so I have plenty of fabric here. I'm actually gonna trim this down a little. Just about a ½ inch on each side is good. You don't have to be perfect. If this was like have straight lines, I would be more precise, but this is like a tossed print, and so you can't really tell. So all you're gonna do is, this goes much faster because cotton fabric this, like the quilting fabric that I use is thinner, a lot thinner than your Aida cloth. So this process goes faster and you get your corners a lot. Like you don't have to work as hard to make sure your corners are like really crisp because it's not so thick that you're having issues. So just like a present, and like I said, like you can use like a tool to make sure you got your glue down, especially if you're using a high temp glue gun. Okay, so I kind of like to eyeball and see where my fabric is gonna end. And just give this a little glue. You can use tacky glue, I think it's called, if you hate hot glue. I hate hot glue, but it's like instant drying. It's like a necessary evil. What? This poor seam ripper is going to be ruined. Okay, so now just to finish with your last edge, you got to be quick if you're going to do the whole thing at once, especially if you're not using high temp. High temp will let you reposition and not be as fast because it doesn't dry as fast. There are very nice glue guns out there that you can spend quite a bit of money on. I think this is just like a Walmart special. Because to be honest, I do not like hot gluing. Okay, so this corner is a little wonky, so here's my little trick to show you. Put a little dab of glue. Get your whatever tool, because you don't want to use your finger. And kind of, I know it looks super messy and unprofessional on the back, but it will help. I mean, that helped a little. Okay, so here are my pieces. Look how nice and crisp that looks, you guys. Okay. Now, this is where, I mean, now it's just easiness going forward. I don't know if that's a word. I like to layer it, make sure I like it before I do any final gluing. I am glad I decided to go with the orange star. I think it's fun with the pops of color and it kind of mimics the stars in the design. So I'm glad I changed my mind at the last minute. Okay, so I like how it looks. I love the spider web. I think that's so fun. Okay, so I leave my bottom piece down. And you guys, this is where you can take your creativity and run with it. If you wanted to do another board behind this, you could. I happen to get sick of gluing, sorry. Grabbing another glue stick in case I need it. I get sick of gluing, I'm not gonna lie. And so usually 2 is my max. And you're gonna need a lot of glue. Well, not like a ton, but don't overdo it and then your glue squishes out on the edges. And then I'm just gonna, okay, so I'm gonna carefully okay, I think that looks good. I'm gonna apply lots of pressure. See? Okay. Now our last piece. Again, I always just kind of like layer it a few times just to make sure I'm good. This piece you will need plenty of glue. I'm gonna put my other glue stick in here. I don't want to run out in the middle of gluing this. I'm gonna use a little bit more on those corners. Just don't do too much. You're gonna make it squish on the edges. Okay, now just, you guys, it's adorable. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how, if you want to add a ribbon to like hang it, which is how I showed the girls, now you can decide, should we do an orange or should we do a black? I kind of just audition it, see what I like. I think pretty much everybody picked black at the retreat. If I wanted a pop of color, I would choose orange. Do I want a pop of color is the question. I know I have some purple, but you guys, I don't love purple. Let me see what this looks like again. I'm probably driving you guys crazy with my indecisiveness. I think the orange is kind of cute because they picked black because we did this last piece orange. So I think I'm going to pick orange for mine. There's a little glue on there. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you need to decide, okay, how big do I want my little hangy thing? And I feel like you don't want it too big because then it would flop over, if that makes sense. I'm going to say 12 inches. I think that's what I told them. So I'm just going to trim it to 12. Now you're going to turn it over and you want it to be even on both sides. So let's see. Let's just look at this again and kind of decide. If I line it up on my ruler, if I go in 2 inches and 2 inches, and if I go on the inside, I think I want to go on the outside of the 2-inch mark. And I think I want to go in more. Okay. I'm going to trim this down. So I said 12. I think I'm going to trim it down to 10. Now turn this over and I want you to grab a pen and a ruler, and you're gonna just mark your 2-inch line. Make sure you're careful and don't get this on your other side, or use a pencil, I guess. Okay, so I marked my 2-inch side, and I said I wanted to go outside. You could go inside and it would hang that way if you go outside. And you know what? You can easily take this off and readjust if you have to. I've got glue everywhere, you guys. Put a little dot. I'm going to go on the outside. Pay attention to how much you're going in. Now make sure you don't twist your ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to go on the outside. I'm going to make sure I hold it down so it dries. Now you could be finished, but if you want a nice clean looking back, oh yeah, that's cute. I guess I might have done that wrong. Did I do it wrong? If I'm hanging it, no, I think, okay, I didn't, okay. So now you want some felt. Well, looky there, my piece was cut. Still intact, okay. You want to cover your raw edges. So if, you could, so this big piece was what, 4 1/4 by 10. So I would cut it like 9 1/2 by 4 3 3/4 ish, depending on how much you have showing. The point of covering this is so you don't see all those raw edges. So you're gonna need quite a bit of glue again. I can't decide if I want to glue on the board or on the felt. I just got this felt at Joann's as well. In case anybody's wondering. You can get felt at Walmart too. This is a great way to put a back on and make it look nice, especially if you're doing ornaments. Oh my heck, you guys, I got thread, I got fabric. I'm kind of a messy maker. Okay, I gotta be quick about this. It's gonna dry and then where will we be? Okay, center it. As I burn myself again. If your corners are floppy, just put a tiny bit of glue. I didn't dare get too close to the corners because I didn't want to burn myself when I was flipping it. Anyway, I don't think I finished my thought. If you're doing ornaments, like, ooh, you definitely want to put a nice backing on. And you don't have to use felt. You could use a piece of fabric. I just like the way felt looks and it doesn't fray. And you could get super creative even after this point and add like a bow, a button, really anything. The sky's the limit. This is where you can use your creativity. I tend to go with simpler finishes. I don't love like overwhelming it to death with a ton of things. It's just not my style. But I wouldn't be opposed to like a cute bow or button if I had one, which I don't think I do. So I think this is good enough for me. And I saw somebody finish theirs and instead of stitching the stars, they used button stars, which was super cute. So like I said, use your creativity, make it your own. I hope this made sense to you. Really, it gets easier. The more you do it, you kind of figure out what works for you, and you'll be doing finishes like this all the time because it's so satisfying. So if you guys have any questions, just message me and I will try and answer them as soon as possible. I hope you guys enjoyed the stitch along. I hope you enjoyed this design. I love how it turned out, and a Christmas one is in the works. Well, I've already designed it, so we're just waiting for some floss. So with that being said, I will see you guys next time.